We want to spend a moment on the type of screw that you need to use. Even though this looks like a drywall screw, it's a specialty screw. It's a number 10 coarse thread laminator screw. It's designed to hold 2 layers of drywall together. Any number 10 coarse thread screw will work, but it has to be at least a number 10. If you're doing a small little 2-foot wall, you could probably get by with drywall screws, but we don't recommend it. Recommend using something a little heavier. The reason why that's so important is this is the key ingredient to hold the panels to the plastic. We've created a fantastic surface for the screw to tie into, but without the proper screws, you won't have the maximum amount of strength that gives you the best results. Another thing we'd like to spend a moment on is the type of drill. You can pretty much use any cordless drill, but these little impact drills seem to work the best. And the reason for that is once you've driven the screw through the plywood, and as soon as it makes contact with the plastic tie behind, it tends to push the plastic tie away. Now the tool, we'll talk about that in a second, helps in that area, but with the impact, what it does is it tends to grab the plastic tie and suck it tight back up against the plywood, and that's what you want. You don't want any gaps between your spider ties and the inside of your plywood. Now, this tool here is called an alignment tool. And what this does is this helps hold the spider tie stack in place behind the plywood and tells you exactly where to put the screws on the outside. You start at the top and work your way down. The proper screw, the proper drill, and this alignment tool here, and you'll have no problems whatsoever putting the screws exactly where they need to be and having the ties perfectly straight every time. There are some downloadable instructions on the website. Go to the website, check it out. The tool costs 20 bucks of materials to make. So you can make your own. There's a cut sheet as well to tell you exactly the dimensions and how to make it. $20 of material, 20 minutes of labor, and you've got yourself a tool. We recommend you make 2 or 3, and that'll make the job go that much smoother. Okay, now we're ready to place our first sheet of plywood. You can see that the plywood drops right down inside the starters. We've allowed this sheet to run long so that we can put a piece of 2x4 as a backing board. We screw it to this surface, then screw to this surface. As I mentioned before, we don't want the end joints to land on a tie. You want them to land anywhere in between. And we'll put a piece of scrap plywood or a scab tying the 2 surfaces together of the same material every 6 inches on both sides. We found that that's a much stronger way to fasten the plywood together. I'd like to explain to you another detail about this alignment tool that's going to be rather important to you. If you notice on the inside alignment boards that they've been rabbited out on the inside. The purpose for that is not only to help the spider tie be held from side to side, but also from in and out. And in doing so, you're going to see the advantage of that. It helps keep everything perfectly straight inside the wall where you can't see. You don't even have to worry about it. Okay, we're going to demonstrate how this works. Now if you've got an uneven gap here, let's say for example the gap is like this, then your whole stack is not square inside. So tap it one way or the other until this is nice and tight. Now you know you're square with the top of your plywood. Starting at the top hole, take these screws that we talked about, place it in the center of the hole. Sometimes it helps just to grab the tie from behind on the starting. And suck up that screw till it starts to semi-countersink. Once it's done that, you know for a fact that the plastic is tight against the plywood on the inside. And repeat that all the way down. Now you'll notice that in your starter tie there's a little slot. The purpose of that slot is to put a screw there. So on shorter walls, probably not necessary, but when you start getting into walls 4 and 5 and 6 and 10 foot high, then you definitely want to put a screw there. Just aim it for the slot. Once you're done, simply pull the alignment tool right up. Let's talk a little bit about plywood. What we have here is 1/2 inch HDO. It's a high density ply made expressly for concrete forms. This happens to be a U sheet. If you take good care of your plywood, you can get many uses out of it. This sheet here, we probably can get 15 to 20, maybe 30 pours if you take real good care of it. This is a brand new sheet that's never been used. The reason why we like to use HDO is because we like to be able to pour our forms all the way up to the top. You can pour 4 to 5 foot in one shot without any worries of a blowout. But we have poured 4-foot walls with using 1/2-inch OSB. But in doing so, you can only pour to whatever the plywood will allow you to do, which typically is about 2.5 feet. You let it set up long enough so that the hydraulic pressure no longer exists at the bottom, and then you can pour the next lift. Typically, you have to wait about maybe half hour, 45 minutes on a warm day, and on a colder day, you might have to put some additive in the concrete. But again, with HDO on a 4 or 5 foot high wall, you don't have to worry about any of that. And as we mentioned, our joint is not landing on a spider tie stack, so we took a scab piece like this, and every 6 inches or so, we fasten it with a screw. Now we're going to go ahead and place our plywood on the inside, and we'll show you a couple little techniques to make the job easy. If you're by yourself, you can take one of your starter ties. It's going to eventually end up being a finish tie, but for right now, you can simply slide it over like this, and that'll help make the thing hands-free. You don't have to hold it. Get your tool and go ahead and fasten your plywood on the inside just like you did on the outside.